Is that centered up? Here we go. Hot mic. Oh, the facts is facts. Beer never broke my heart. Luke Holmes on 94.3 The Ox. 8:29 now, time for Coffee Talk, brought to you by the Comanche Chamber of Commerce and Agriculture. Check them out at #Explore Comanche, Texas, as we say good morning to Cynthia Newton. How we doing?
We are doing peachy.
Pete, no. You got to do it more believable than that. That sounded kind of half-hearted.
It's Monday. I'm trying.
There you go. That sounds a little better.
Anyway.
Oh, what are we talking about today?
Well, I've been talking about teens and kids the last few weeks, and I got a listener asked me about phones and, when is the right time to give a kid a phone, and just different questions. I've had a couple of other people ask about internet safety, and so I thought we'd talk about internet safety today and phones.
Huge.
And it's huge when you're looking at kids. What is the right age? When do you do all of that stuff? How do you monitor it? It's a scary world out there.
It is.
But first I want to give some statistics because I love statistics.
Now see, that sounded believable.
I do. I love statistics because I don't feel like anything. I don't feel like you. There's always research, and the fact is, it just makes you, I guess, realize the gravity of a situation more so when you hear statistics. So I actually really do love statistics. It really is believable. Anyway, but first off, 95% of teens in the United States are online, and the vast majority access the internet on their mobile devices, making it the most common medium for cyberbullying and other avenues. So 37% of young people between the ages of 12 and 17 have been bullied online. 30% have had it happen more than once. 23% of students reported that they've said or done something mean or cruel to another person online. And 27% reported that they've experienced the same from someone else. Girls are more likely than boys to be both victims and perpetrators of cyberbullying. 15% of teen girls have been the target of at least 4 different kinds of abusive online behaviors, compared with 6% of boys. About half of LGBTQ students experience online harassment, a rate higher than average. Instagram is the social media site where most young people report experiencing cyberbullying, with 42% of those surveyed experience harassment on the platform. Young people who experience cyberbullying are at a greater risk than those who don't for both self-harm and suicidal behaviors. 83% of young people believe social media companies should be doing more to tackle cyberbullying on their platforms. 60% of young people have witnessed online bullying. Most do not intervene. Only 1 in 10 teen victims will inform a parent or a trusted adult about the abuse. 4 out of 5 students say they would be more likely to intervene in instances of cyberbullying if they could do it anonymously. So just those right off the bat, and that's just strictly about cyberbullying. Of course, we're going to talk about, there's a lot more that goes into than just, picking fun or, all of that that's involved in cyberbullying. But just realizing how huge a problem it is. It scares me. I've got kids. We're raising kids in a different world than when we were kids. That's for sure. And there's just so much more out there. And as parents, we have a responsibility to protect them. And it's like, how do you do that, Cynthia? Well, that's what we're going to talk about. Anyway.
Genius.
It's genius. Yes, genius. All right. So let's talk about internet safety risks. There are 4 main kinds of internet risks for teenagers. There's content, contact, conduct, and contract. It's the 4 C's.
There you go.
All right, so content risk. What do you think that is?
What they're saying.
Okay, well, yeah. Pornography, also simulated violence or real violence.
Sure.
Hate sites, terrorist sites, fake news. Harmful, I know we laugh. That gets adults too. Harmful user-generated content like sites about drug use, self-harm, suicide, or negative body image. These are out there. So being aware, the pornography and sexually explicit content is out there all over the place. Movies, video games, everywhere. So just be aware that it is. All right, so contact. Okay, contact. These risks include coming into contact with adults posing as children online. And these might be strangers who persuade teenagers to meet them in real life and online scammers. So, contact risk. Then we've got conduct. Now that's going to be your cyberbullying, your sexting, misusing people's passwords and impersonating people online, making unauthorized purchases using other people's financial details. Don't use your parents' credit card. Creating,
not advised.
Creating content that reveals information about other people. Having trouble regulating online time, which can develop into problem internet use. So that's conduct risk. Okay, and then we've got contract. Contract risks includes teenagers signing up to unfair contracts, terms, or conditions. It's really easy to just go in there and just agree to something without reading it all. I mean, we do it as adults. Think about it. How often do we sit there and say, yeah, I'm not going to read 10 pages of that, and I'm just going to click I agree so I can get on to what I'm trying to do.
Well.
But teenagers might, because of this, be open to identity theft or fraud. They may get inappropriate digital marketing messages or scam emails, and they may have their personal data collected from apps and devices like fitness trackers. Even fitness trackers. I mean, think about that. Think about how much information is out there it's so easily given and not really aware that it's happening. So those are your types of internet safety that we need to look at. Those are the 4 different types and the 4 different harms that are out there. So you're like, okay, Cynthia, now you've scared me. What do I do? How do I help my kids with this? Okay, so how do we protect our kids, teenagers, tweens, whatever you want to call them, kids of all ages, from internet safety? I mean, from all these things that are happening on the internet. First off, you've got to create a family media plan. Okay, if you allow your child to have a phone or to have access to the internet, you need to create a media plan. All right, talk about this, what it looks like. Maybe screen-free areas in your house. Meaning that we're not going to be doing it at certain places in the house. What online behavior might look like. Limiting time. Being very aware of limiting how much time your child has. Talk with your child about upsetting and inappropriate content. Don't be afraid. I talked about this last week. Don't be afraid to talk to your kids. The more you talk to them, the more they're going to talk to you.
Sure.
If you can talk with your child in an open and non-judgmental, that's the key, way, they're more likely to talk with you if they come across something online or have a bad online experience. Stay in touch with what your child is doing online, how much time they're spending. This will help you spot when your child might be having problems, okay? I know there's that fine line between privacy and, parenting. I'm going to get to that, okay? But you still have an obligation. Ask your child to friend you on social media. Younger teenagers might be okay with this, but older teenagers might prefer not to.
Mom!
Okay? But if you're allowing them to have access to social media, you need to be aware of what's going on their social media. On Snapchat. I mean, there's so many platforms out there. I can't even begin to list them all.
Right.
But, I mean, just, be aware and ask your child to friend you, or you might make that a stipulation. The only way they can have it is for that. Encourage and remind your child to explore and use the internet safely. For example, it's okay to remind your child to check privacy settings. They may not know about privacy settings. It's okay to ask them and to show them. Find out how to make complaints about offensive or illegal online contact. So find out how to make those complaints. Help your child do that, especially if something happens. Be aware that internet filters can actually increase risk, okay? Internet filters can increase risk for children over 14 years. If children are using filters at this age, they might not be developing the skills they need to avoid disturbing contacts, okay? That's not saying that it's right or wrong. You have to make that choice. Just be aware that sometimes they might take risks, either accidentally or on purpose, when they use the internet in unfiltered environments, okay? So just be aware that you've got to understand what those filters do, okay? But you can't just put a filter and pretend, okay, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Because at some point in time, they're going to grow up.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to filter everything, Okay, so be aware that you have that responsibility too. Just putting a filter is not necessarily going to prevent
One
everything.
and done.
That's right. It's not. Yes, exactly. So, how do you identify and manage it with the teenagers? You can do this by being a role model. Monkey see, monkey do,
Sure.
right? We say that all the time. You know, our kids are going to repeat behavior they see. If you're sending your kids, and I'm going to say this because I've seen this actually happen, if you're sending your kids inappropriate memes, just because you think it's funny and you think they're going to think it's funny, guess what you're modeling to them?
That's right.
It happens.
Everything's fair
okay?
game.
Don't, be aware of what you're doing and how you're, responding with your children. You have a responsibility to be a role model to them.
Yep.
Talk with your child. Again, communication about online content and behavior. Remind them about privacy and personal information. Teach them about online purchases. Just because you click buy, you still have somebody has to pay for it, okay? Teach
Yes.
them what that means. It's very easy to, run up a bill very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And they need to be aware of that. Hold on. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
I do that daily.
Oh my gosh, it's awful, isn't it? It's called getting old.
Yeah, I hate that too.
right.
Not a big fan.
So some parents will set ground rules specifically. I said a family media plan. So let's talk about ground rules that you might want to do.
Okay.
Don't share your, specifically telling them not to share personal information like their full name, address, phone number, and definitely not their social security number. Don't use public Wi-Fi networks. Okay? The reason for that is everything on a public Wi-Fi network is accessible.
Right.
So don't use that because you may not even realize what you're putting out there. Or the kids might not realize what they are. Don't let anyone else use your phone, laptop, or tablet. Don't accept friend requests from strangers. Don't open emails for unknown senders. Don't click on links or download anything without first clearing it with an adult. Don't share photos online or through texts or IMs. Once that photo is out there, whatever it is out there and you can't get it back.
Yep.
So putting those stipulations, managing that with your kids are very highly important. You need to put protections in place. You need to learn parental controls, okay? Find the filters that would be appropriate for you, for your family, okay? Find them that can give you intel, so to speak, without violating their privacy. It may not tell you everything that they're texting, or it may not tell you everything, but it might, some of them are designed to hit on certain words that, hey, you know what, this is something that give you a notification that says that you have something to worry about. So they're designed to, there's a lot of apps and stuff that are designed to watch out for danger rather than spy on your child, okay? Location. There's nothing wrong with knowing where your child is. So there's nothing wrong with turning that location on their phone. That's not a point of being necessarily violating their privacy. No, technically you're responsible for your child.
Sure.
So you do need to know where your child is. I know that I'm kind of probably getting into some hot topics here, so I'm trying to be careful, but you've got to be aware that, yes, our kids want privacy. Okay, yes, they want to be respected. They want to be looked at. But you still have that responsibility. You still have to help them navigate this crazy world that we're living in. Be aware of signs that might be coming up, such as creating new email accounts, hiding the screen when you come in the room. Who hides the screen when they come in the room? Somebody that's wanting to hide something. Yep,
Absolutely.
exactly. If they're trying to hide it, guess what? Losing interest in friends or activities. Again, these are all signs, and these are things I've talked about before, but also displaying strong emotional responses after going online. Okay, all of a sudden, they were fine, they went online, now they're angry. Okay, think about that for a second. Obviously, they encountered something that really upset them. So talk to them about it. Don't just let it go by the wayside. This is all really important stuff for your kids. I know the big question is, so When is it appropriate to give your kids a phone? I can't tell you that.
Right.
Every parent is different.
Individual basis.
It's an individual thing. When is it appropriate to allow your kids to have access to the internet? Again, it's an individual thing. But I will tell you, you need to be aware and you need to put filters. Everybody does different things. Everybody looks at different stages. Okay, but to give your child free access to everything in their palm of their hand from start is setting your child up for all sorts of things that could happen, and you do need to be aware of that.
Yeah.
So when you give them that first phone, or when you do, be aware that you need to help them manage. You need to help communicate with them. You need to help them understand this is what you're allowed to do and this is what you're not allowed to do. And until you can show me that you're not, I'm going to be monitoring probably a little more closely. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well,
they've got to learn.
A lot of that's set up on their phone. You and I have talked off the air, and you can set it up where it'll only work so much time. You that way you can limit that.
That's exactly right. And I mean, my son has a phone, and that's one of the things that I've done is set blocks on his as to he only has it from certain time to certain time during the day, so he can't access it in the middle of the night, and before he can even install an app, I have to approve it.
That was a big one. Yeah.
So he can't just go in there and just start
I'm
installing
be on TikTok.
apps, right? And that's my personal choice. Again, but I mean, it's something that for me and my children, I want to make sure that I'm taking the slow steps before I integrate them into being allowed to have access to everything out there in cyber world. Yeah. So, I mean, just be aware. I think the biggest thing is be aware. Don't just hand them a phone or hand them a tablet or anything and just say, okay, here you go. Merry Christmas. Happy birthday. I mean, and we're getting close to Christmas. It's time for people to start, thinking they're going to be given phones and tablets and all sorts of things. And just realize there are filters, there are blocks on everything. So we're here to help, guys, at Hope Counseling of Texas. We've got 4 locations: Comanche, Dublin, Eastland, and Hamilton. Please give us a call. Let us help you. We accept all insurances. If you don't have insurance, we can work with you on a sliding scale as well. Our phone number is 325-356-1105. And like I said, you can find us on Facebook at Hope Counseling of Texas. So.
All right. Well, thanks for stopping by. That's some highly important stuff. Right. Not that every Monday isn't something that's important, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, and just remember, if there's something specific that y'all want me to talk about, or you're really curious about, message us on Facebook. Let me know. Okay, contact the radio station. They'll get the information to me. So, okay.
Cynthia Newton with Hope Counseling. Thanks for stopping by.
All right, thank you. Have a great Monday.
You too. Yeah, if they'd had a tracking device on my phone when I was a kid, that'd have been hell to pay every day. What are you doing? You're 17. Are you at the beer store? No. I was down here looking at the golf course. Every day.
You might want to turn that off.